On today's Locked On SEC, legendary Georgia head coach Mark Richt is going to join the show to talk about the SEC, how great this Georgia defense can be, and also can we expect maybe two SEC teams into the college football playoff? Also, we're going to go around the conference as Alabama loses a running back for the year. Kirby Smart gives us a health update on JT Daniels and much, much more. Locked On SEC starts now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and at LockedOnSEC.com. And today's show is brought to you by RockAuto.com. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit RockAuto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. All right, plenty to jump into. Let's do it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Takes the handoff.
Around the conference.
And we start in Athens as the Georgia Bulldogs off to an impressive 5-0 start. The defense has been dominant, but if there's one cause for concern, it is the health of their star quarterback, JT Daniels, who has now missed 2 games this year against UAB and this past Saturday against Arkansas. On Monday, Kirby Smart, talking with the media, said, as far as JT, he's not going to do anything today. He's practicing, but he's doing everything but throwing, and then we'll see how it goes day by day. The biggest thing is he got to rest and recover, try to heal. We're hopeful he'll be able to go Tuesday, Wednesday, try to throw like he was able to do last week some days. So there's a lot more to quarterbacking than just throwing the ball. He does a lot of stuff well. Will he go on the road to Jordan-Hare Stadium this week? That is the question, but at least the early returns, if he's not doing everything at practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week, I don't know. Maybe another Stetson Bennett game, but the way Georgia's defense is playing right now, I could play quarterback for Georgia and win some games. Over at Alabama during his Monday press conference yesterday, Nick Saban said he expects running back Jace Mcclellan to miss the rest of the season. He said the running back would have surgery today. So far this year, McClellan had 40 carries for almost 200 yards and a touchdown, also had 10 catches for 97 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. For now, it is the Brian Robinson Jr. show. He is the featured back for Bama. Looked really good this past week in the win over Ole Miss. Trey Sanders and other guys are going to have to try to step up behind him in the absence of McClellan. Over at Kentucky, head coach Mark Stoops, talking with the media yesterday, said that nose tackle Marquand McCall will be out for a little bit. He was not listed on the depth chart for this week's game against LSU. Instead, Josiah Hayes was listed as the first-team nose tackle, with Justin Rogers as the second team. McCall appeared to suffer the injury while trying to make a tackle downfield on the first play of Florida's second possession last week when he fell awkwardly into a teammate. He's a senior lineman, hobbled off the field, but we'll see if McCall is back soon for Kentucky. It doesn't sound like he'll play this week for LSU. Speaking of Kentucky, the SEC announced yesterday that they have fined Kentucky for the fans rushing the field after their win over Florida. Kentucky will receive a $250,000 fine for a third offense. Kentucky was last fined for rushing the field against Mississippi State back in 2018. Over at Tennessee, Josh Heupel and the Vols, they officially named Hendon Hooker the starting quarterback on the depth chart ahead of the South Carolina game this week. Heupel, talking with the media yesterday, said Hooker has been really good with his eyes, and that's helping him be accurate with the football. He also added Hooker has been taking care of the football with the ball in his hands, and he's been in control at the line of scrimmage. Good to see they finally named the starter, though. For a while there was like, well, is it Joe Milton? Is he going to be back? I don't know. Game time decision. It's Hendon Hooker's job. Let him roll. And the Vols may end up upsetting some people this year that they're not supposed to upset. They looked tremendous last week against Missouri. Did that as an underdog this week. Probably going to be the favorite over South Carolina, but a chance to string together some wins here in Josh Heupel, year number 1. Over at Florida, their backup quarterback, Anthony Richardson, he returned to play against Kentucky on Saturday night after missing a couple of games with a hamstring injury. He completed just one pass attempt for 8 yards and had 5 carries for 25 rushing yards. Yesterday, his press conference, Dan Mullen was asked about the limited snaps Richardson got. He said that Richardson is fine physically. It wasn't a health issue, but he said that it'll be a fluid situation on how much time he gets moving forward. He said, we're going to look at it. Depends on our game plan from week to week and how practice goes. It was just different from what we'd seen from Richardson earlier this year, making electrifying plays. We didn't see that on Saturday night in their loss to Kentucky. Over at Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher's team, they struggled offensively once again this week, due in part to the injury to Haynes King, their starting quarterback, who they lost week 2 against Colorado. But during his press conference yesterday, Fisher was asked about Haynes King and his recovery. He said, we're making sure he gets fully healthy, but he is progressing. His mind is into every game plan and meeting. Zach Calzada, the fill-in starter, has not been very good, as we mentioned. Passed for 744 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, but many of those touchdowns came in the New Mexico game. Yesterday, Jimbo also said offensive lineman Luke Matthews had shoulder surgery yesterday. He will miss the rest of the year. Also added that cornerback Miles Jones is out for the year after undergoing foot surgery, and fellow DB Brian George might be out for the year as well. So injuries piling up for the Aggies, but the one that was most important, quarterback spot, they need Haynes King back to get some stability there and try to start winning some games here. Over at Auburn, they picked up their biggest win of the season last week on the road at LSU, beating them 24-19. It was the first win for Auburn in Baton Rouge since 1999. Now that sets up a huge home game this Saturday against number 2 ranked Georgia. Yesterday, Brian Harsin, talking with the media, said Owen Papo, starting linebacker, did not play this past week. He said, I hope he does practice this week. It's just going to come down to game time on Saturday. Harsin was also asked about the status of Tank Bigsby, who saw a limited number of snaps Saturday night. When asked if Bigsby was dealing with an injury, Harsin said Tank is just fine. That game against Georgia will be 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern on CBS on Saturday. Over at South Carolina, wide receiver Ortre Smith battled some health injuries and inconsistency in his time at South Carolina. He has now entered his name into the transfer portal. He was a 4-star wide receiver in the 2017 class, had just 1 catch for 15 yards this season. Over at LSU, Coach O looking for improvements on his offense, and he may be going to a former assistant for some help. When asked by the media if he would reach out to former offensive coordinator Steve Ensminger, he said that's a good idea. Ensminger helped Jake Peetz, or could help Jake Peetz out, the new offensive coordinator, during games this season. Ensminger retired from an on-field coaching capacity, but still works with LSU as a consultant/analyst role. Of course, Ensminger, most famous for being the offensive coordinator during the 2019 LSU season. Joe Brady was the passing game coordinator. He gets a lot of credit for that season, but don't forget, Ensminger was calling the plays hand in hand with Joe Brady. We'll see if Ensminger can help Peetz fix this LSU offense. And lastly, Sam Pittman, talking with the media yesterday, he made it clear that they're not going to let the Georgia loss this past weekend give them a hangover for this week. Pittman said, quote, I'll be damned if Georgia's going to make us lose this Ole Miss game. Pittman also added he hopes his team will learn from the Georgia game about getting ready for an early kickoff on the road. Said the team could use a different mindset. The SEC named several players of the week this week, and just to give you a couple of names, offensively, Brian Robinson at Alabama, Will Rogers at Mississippi State, Bo Nix at Auburn, and Cade Mays at Tennessee, offensive tackle. On defense, you had Jarquez Jones at Kentucky, Will Anderson at Alabama, Josh Paschal at Kentucky, Georgia D lineman Devontae Wyatt. Special teams player of the week was Vanderbilt kicker Joe Bolovis, who made the game-winner kick. And then your freshman of the week, Tennessee running back Whitehead, and freshman Auburn running back Jarquez Hunter. So there you go. Those are your SEC players of the week. And next week, some game times announced for October 16th as far as the SEC goes. Night game. Tennessee actually gets a night game. They will host Ole Miss on October 16th in Knoxville. So congrats. No more 11 a.m. games for the Vols. Thanks again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. A reminder, coming up next, our conversation with former Georgia head coach Mark Richt. That's coming up next. If you are a college football fanatic, you need to be checking out our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. I love it. I know you guys are going to love it too. Go check them out. They are the leader in college sports daily fantasy. They offer more college football props than anyone in the world. They got all the star players from the Power Five as well as mid-majors. They offer any prop you can think of, from yardage to touchdowns, even interceptions thrown. How it works is you pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under in their projections. You can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it's just you versus the projected numbers. Best of all of our users that deposit and use our promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, you will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Go check them out right now. Use their award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. PrizePicks is safe and offers fast withdrawals. Don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON or go to your App Store and download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. We'd also tell you about our friends over at Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it is impossible for your local auto parts chain store to stock all the parts you need. Why would you pay up to 30%, 50%, sometimes even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Save time and money when you use rockauto.com. They are a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use catalog today. You find the solution to all your auto parts needs. Just go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or your truck. And when you go to checkout, make sure you write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so that they know that we sent you. It's an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com right now. Make sure you tell them Locked On sent you. Rolling along here, Locked On SEC, and nobody better to talk all things college football. One of the biggest names, of course, a legendary coach in the SEC, and of course now doing his thing over on the ACC network, working with the brands through ESPN. He is the legendary coach, Mark Richt, and he joins us now. Coach, welcome in. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
We're doing good. Man, it has been, we're only 5 weeks into the college football season, and I feel like we're 10 weeks in with just the roller coaster ride that it's we've been on so far. In your mind, from what you've seen just across college football, what's the biggest surprise for you so far?
Well, in the beginning, it looked like there wasn't any dominant team necessarily, certainly not in our league in the ACC, with Clemson losing to Georgia and then struggling with everybody else they've played to this point. That's been a little bit of surprise. I thought when Florida played tight with Alabama, Alabama looked vulnerable and Georgia didn't look that great offensively in that Clemson game. So you're thinking everybody's got a chance in America to make their way. You get, Oregon beating Ohio State. I mean, all kind of upsets happening, and you're thinking there's a lot of parity, but by the time week 5 rolled around, I think there's 2 teams that are the most dominant in college football. I'm stating the obvious with Alabama and Georgia, and it's all, kind of all starts with defense for Georgia.
That was going to be my next question. I mean, you coached some great defenses in your years at Georgia, and, somebody told me in the offseason, they said they think this might be Kirby's best defense since he's been there. I said, we always talk in hyperbole, but man, so far through the first few weeks, it's hard to argue that. What are you seeing out of this defense from Georgia?
Well, it's so dominant up front. They're so big and so strong. I mean, when you get a guy like Jermaine Johnson, who transferred from Georgia to Florida State to get playing time, and he's probably leading the nation in sacks right now over there at Florida State. They're deep, and so just. They take control of the game up front, and then everybody in the back end looks better when your defensive front is just kicking butt, stopping the run, forcing people into passing situations, and then you can turn on the jets with the pass rush, and just harass quarterbacks all across America. So they probably are the best defense, probably statistically and on paper too.
I think it's so underrated because JT Daniels got so much hype this offseason. Obviously, he came in from USC last year. Eventually, when he took over, hasn't lost a game yet since he's taken over as Georgia's starter. But I think one of the underrated aspects of Georgia's offense is having a guy like Stetson Bennett, who admitted this week that, he considered transferring the offseason but stuck around. Man, it's the kid doesn't do anything flashy, but like having a kid like that could stick around, and with JT Daniels being banged up, to plug him in and still get the job done. man, that's the ingredients of a great team, having a backup quarterback that you can really trust and rely on.
Right. And that's the thing that's kind of problematic across America. If a guy doesn't win a job, he leaves. He doesn't stick around just to be there for a moment like this, like Stetson did. So, kudos to him for not just bailing out when things didn't look great. And now he's, reaping the benefit of it. And, there's a lot of teams across America who, like right now, I got a nephew at LSU. Max Johnson is the quarterback now, but, TJ Finley decided to hit the road when he didn't win the job. And now if something happened to Max, just one injury for even a week, they've got a true freshman and a walk-on behind him. So, for Stetson to stick around, that's a big deal for him and his career and shows his character. But it's also great for Georgia. And just to add to that, I had a kid that people will remember from Georgia for sure named DJ Shockley, playing behind David Green for 4 seasons. It wasn't until his 5th year that he got a chance to be the starter, but he stuck it out. He was MVP of the SEC championship game in 2005. And now he's just revered among the Georgia people. Atlanta's his hometown, and people love him, and it's paying off on the long haul for DJ.
And who knew? 15 years later, we'd be talking about TV stars Mark Richt and DJ Shockley. Crazy how things work out that way. I wanted to get your thoughts real quick, Coach, because I know you wrote you got the new book out, Make the Call, and it's available, Amazon, wherever you get your books. You've done a couple signings already. What was the motivation behind wanting to write this book now?
Well, at first I was going to write a book while I was a coach. That was one of the dumbest decisions I ever made. You had maybe a 1 month window in the summertime to put it all together. And we tried to do it. And by the time we were proofreading chapter 1, 2 days had started. So I just said, forget it. But then, after I retired from coaching, my literary agent came to me, said, let's write a book. I said, I'll think about it. Well, a few months after that, I have a heart attack, barely survived that thing. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to write a book, maybe I should write it now before it's too late. But the book's about, it's a play on words, make the call. If you're a play caller in college football, obviously you're making a call every 40 seconds. As a head coach, you make calls all throughout the game and in recruiting and discipline and all that. Bottom line is making the calls, just making decisions. And so there's a lot of football decisions that were made, a lot of behind the scenes looks at decisions I made over the years in football, but also with my family and my faith. The good news about the book is the reader gets to kind of get some behind the scenes looks at some of the decisions I made, but also get a chance to make maybe the most important call they can make in their life too. So it's a book for everybody, not just football fans, but I think football fans will especially like it.
We are into the thick of the college football and NFL season, and hopefully that means you guys have gone over to betonline.ag. They are back and better than ever. Of course, all eyes on the gridiron. And as always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all things pro and college football action. With a new updated website and interface, BetOnline is offering more odds, props, and contests. They continue to be your number one source for everything football. Head on over to their website. You can do so on your mobile device. Sign up today. Receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit if you've never signed up before. And you can use our promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON. That will get you your bonus from football to baseball playoffs. Everything you could ever want to bet on is there for you right now. Don't wait to take advantage of all their amazing offers before 2021 ends. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. What are you waiting for? Get in there before all the SEC games happen this weekend, and you could be making some big-time money. BetOnline.ag. Go check them out. Need to remind you guys about Sweat Block. We've been telling you about them for a little while now, and I've had a couple people reach out and say, I've really gotten results on what Sweat Block helps with. And look, it's an uncomfortable conversation. If you're one of those people who sweats under your arms a lot and it's very uncomfortable, you're out at the tailgate or going to the football game, you're wearing your favorite light colored t-shirt and you can see the sweat stains, let Sweat Block help you out. Basically what it is Sweat Block antiperspirant wipes. They're stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply take the wipe, you put it under your underarm, apply it at night before you go to bed. The next morning, you wake up, you wash, you go about your day without worrying about sweat. It is guaranteed. It is doctor created, doctor recommended, works up to 7 days per use, and they give you the dry shirt guarantee. If Sweat Block doesn't help keep you dry, you get your money back. It is the real deal. Go check them out right now at sweatblock.com. You can get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com when you use our promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, or you can find them at Amazon and CVS. If you or someone you love is dealing with excess sweating, go check out our friends at Sweatblock, sweatblock.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON. Continue our conversation with the head coach, Mark Richt, now doing TV. And of course, Coach, you came out recently and talked about your having to deal with Parkinson's disease. And I have a good friend, Greg Cook, who played for Arkansas Razorbacks. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's a couple years ago. And the key words they use is learning to live with it. It's not this is, the end of your life and all this kind of stuff. No, it's learning to live with it. And you can. I mean, it is, you go through rehab and all that kind of stuff. But what's this journey been like for you so far?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you get a diagnosis like that and then, how you're going to react to it. And I think for me, it was kind of helpful that we were suspecting it for quite some time and never got it confirmed till months later. So you had time to process what might happen to you and all that kind of thing, and be able to react to it in the proper way once you know what's going on. And it's true that you learn to recalibrate your brain. You have dopamine in your body that is an action cell. It helps you move. When you get Parkinson's, I've probably lost 80% of the dopamine in my body. And so when those symptoms come up, when those motor symptoms come up, movement symptoms come up, you probably had it 5 years, 10 years maybe. So my goal right now is to stay in stage one as long as possible. And, the bottom line is I got to, get rid of the toxins and the inflammation in my body and get rid of the stress. And, so those are the things I'm working on. But I can pretty much do anything that I've done in the past right now. I just do it much more slowly. And so just the little things like getting out of a chair, you got to recalibrate your brain to realize it's going to take a little more effort to get out of this chair. It's going to take more effort to walk. It's going to take more effort to change direction. So things that you never really had to think about, you all of a sudden you got to focus your brain on to get your body to do it. So, but the bottom line is, as I said in my tweet when I made it public, was, I do look at it as a momentary light affliction compared to the glory that's coming down the road once I get to heaven. So that's kind of how I look at it right now.
Yeah, I think one thing that everybody, even across the SEC, everybody loves it. You've always been a man of faith, a guy who wasn't afraid to share that, and I think that's what makes you so likable. Even if you hated Mark Richt with the Georgia Bulldogs, you respected the man and said that's a good man. And everything you hear about you from other people is how great of a person you are, and so obviously congratulations on that and a great career. And I heard just in a couple weeks, the Georgia Bulldogs are going to be bringing you in to honor you on the field at the Georgia-Mizzou game coming up in November. What's that going to be like? Is that going to bring back a lot of emotions and being back in front of that crowd?
Well, one of the things with Parkinson's is your emotions trigger a little faster than they used to as well. So I can't imagine keeping it together, and I kind of hoping they don't ask me to say something. I doubt they do, but I won't be able to get it out. But I think originally Josh Brooks, the athletic director, had planned on bringing me in the 2002 SEC championship dogs and be honored next season, 20-year anniversary of that 2002 team, the one that was our first SEC championship in 20 years. So I think that was the original plan. And then when he heard I had Parkinson's, he said, maybe we better move this up for coach. And so they're going to try to get together some of the permanent captains during my 15 years at Georgia and see who can make it there. And at halftime of the Missouri game, November 6th, they're going to do something just to honor me, which is, I'm humbled by it for sure.
Do you have a favorite memory that stands out of more than anything in your time in Athens?
Right. Well, one thing, people ask me that a lot. And there are a lot of games that were so special and moments in games, but I will never forget the first dog walk I went to, and the fans, if they don't know what that is, that's when the team kind of walks through the crowd before we enter the stadium. And the very first one I walked through with the team. And, when you become coach, I was hired as a coach, I think, late December. And then you just start grinding away. You start working. You go from your house to work and back, basically. You just kind of grinding away. You don't really get amongst the Georgia fans, amongst the people much. And then, so that dog walk, I'm just being able to see how much the fans love their team and the passion, and it got emotional for me just walking through that dog walk. And that's when I decided I think I'll do the first game only, and because I was calling plays back then, and I wanted to keep my mind straight. But it was very meaningful to walk through that dog walk for the first time.
How much are you enjoying doing the TV work now? I know you're on the ACC network. You got your ACC network T-shirt on.
Yeah.
How much are you enjoying that? You talk about being, trying to relieve your life of stress. Obviously, getting out of coaching relieves a lot of that stress and the recruiting and all that kind of stuff. But how much are you enjoying the TV aspect now?
Oh, I love it. I love working with the guys I'm with. Eric McLean, who's an offensive lineman from Clemson, E.J. Manuel, who's a quarterback at Florida State, and then Jordan Cornette, our host. We got great camaraderie, great friendships, and then everybody, all the producers and all the researchers and everybody that helps with video. I mean, it is a team effort, so I'm still a part of the team, which I love, and I get a chance to, keep my hand in football a little bit and just turn it loose a little bit. My people just looked at me as a guy that was always kind of controlled with his emotions and maybe not having much personality because, game day I was very focused on what I was doing. But now they get to see me have a little fun and cut up a little bit. So I enjoy it quite a bit.
I'd be remiss if we didn't ask you a little bit about what's going on with the ACC this year. I think specifically what's going on with Clemson. I think we became just accustomed to this 6 years of dominance and going undefeated and getting to the college football playoff every year. What in your opinion is going wrong with Clemson this year?
Well, they're mortal right now. They, they were so spoiled with some of these great quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, and then everybody expected DJ Uiagalelei to be the same guy, and there's good reason because how he played at Notre Dame last year, how he played, down to Boston College and brought him back, the biggest comeback in who knows how many years, and played so well. So I mean, people were saying this kid might be a Heisman Trophy candidate. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't hitting his target like he should. And guys were dropping balls. And, Travis Etienne, the former great running back, wasn't there anymore. And so, they had dynamic playmakers at the running back position and at the quarterback position. And DJ, quite frankly, is not that mobile of a kid. He's a big, powerful guy. He can run with power, but he doesn't run out of much trouble. So, when the plays weren't quite right, Trevor made it right. When the plays weren't blocked perfectly, Travis Etienne, the great running back, would make something out of nothing. And they don't have that type of dynamic playmaker right now at either position. So that's what's killing them. Defensively, they're playing well, but what happens is when you got to make a stop, and they're playing all these close ball games they're not used to, it takes a toll on your defense as well. So Clemson is now a team that everybody looks at them and says, we could beat these guys. We're not defeated before we kick off. So, Clemson's going to play 8, 9, 10 games this season where it's going to come down to the wire, and they're just not used to that.
Last thing for you, Coach. What we saw this past weekend, it's hard to argue that Georgia and Alabama are two of, if not the two best teams in all of college football. They're not playing each other in the regular season. It looks like they're on a collision course. We'll see what Kentucky does, but could be Alabama, Georgia in the national championship. In your mind, or in the SEC championship, in your mind, if they both meet in the SEC championship and it's a close game, I mean, can you make an argument both those teams should be in the playoff?
No, they'll get in for sure. If they run the table and one team loses that game, I think they're both in for sure. And it might look a lot like the year when Alabama played LSU in the national championship. The playoff wasn't around, but both teams were undefeated when they played each other. One team wins by a field goal or whatever it was. I forgot who won the game in the regular season.
LSU, yeah.
LSU, and then Bama gets to rematch them and beat them in the national championship game. So if they run the table up until the SEC championship game, then they're both going to be in for certain, and more than likely they'll make sure they don't play in the semis.
One more thing for you, Coach. You mentioned your nephew playing quarterback at LSU, your brother-in-law, Brad Johnson. Do you enjoy his trick shot basketball videos that he's on social media now? It's so funny. I mean, everybody's like, those are such dad basketball moves, but he's got it down. It's perfection.
Yeah, he was a big basketball player coming through high school. He actually started at Florida State playing basketball on a really good basketball team. But yeah, Big Bad Brad is his name,
right?
His brand name, or whatever you want to call it. I don't have to ask for him; he sends them all to me, so I get a chance. So we just live, maybe 10 minutes from each other. So my sister Nikki and my wife Catherine are close, and we spend a lot of time with family.
Well, the name of the book, again, is Make the Call. It's available now wherever you find your books. And I've just ordered mine yesterday. I can't wait to get it in and read it. And, Coach, this has been a great pleasure. Really appreciate you taking the time with us.
All right, Chris, I enjoyed it.
All right, that is just about going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. My thanks again to Mark Richt for joining us. And thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Now go grab your second listen. Check out some of our other great podcasts like Locked On Auburn with our buddy Zach Blackerby, Locked On Vols with Eric Kane. Go check those out wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Chris Gordy. You guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.